Sean Fitzgerald, president of TruBlue Total House Care. Well, I think the first thing that every franchisor should understand when working with franchisees is that the minute you become a franchisor, you are in the franchise industry. So many brands or companies that when they start franchising, they take what was successful for them in their business and apply it to franchising. And keep in mind that franchising is in itself its own industry, and understanding that things that may have worked in your line of business or industry may not be applicable to franchising. So that's where seeking advice from people in franchising that understand how to grow franchise systems, how to work with franchisees, how to communicate with franchisees. And that way you are prepared for dealing with having franchisees in your system and coaching them the proper way. Well, I'd say the biggest challenge I face is understanding that not all franchisees are the same. Not all people are the same. And franchising is a very successful system, but you got to have people who execute the model properly. So one of the things I learned from is and the mistakes I made was understanding what a successful franchisee looks like, but also what a non-successful franchisee looks like. And once you can identify those, and anytime you have a situation where you have franchisees that are not successful or not good in the system, just make sure you learn from that and what kind of characteristic traits, what misalignment did they have, the misunderstanding of franchising, what a franchisor does for them, and having that expectation set properly. And that's what I think I learned from the most. That's really helped me develop the brands I'm in today, and is understanding those characteristics that make people successful in the franchise system and those that do not. And if they do not, then obviously that's not who you want to target. And you want to identify it in your awarding process and sales process that here are some of the characteristical traits that people who don't work out well in the system. And every brand's going to be a little bit different. Some industries require different backgrounds, different skill sets. For TruBlue and ours, it's heavily sales and marketing focused. So people who have that type of background tend to thrive very well in this business. So that's the one thing that I think I learned from some of the mistakes I've made in the past is having franchisees in a system that weren't right for them or the brand. What every franchisor should know before franchising their brand is that it's going to be a lot harder than you think it's going to be. And it's going to be a lot more expensive. And so I think that's one thing, when you have a proven business or concept, be sure that it is replicable. That's the key to this whole thing. And, be prepared for it not to go really fast. I mean, everybody has dreams and everybody hears stories of brands that are franchised, and out of the gate, it appears that they just took off really fast. That's usually not the case, and so it takes a little bit longer than I think people realize. And the other thing too is that you really have to be able to tell your story and the opportunity of your franchise system in a way that is different from everybody else. So you just can't just think that, hey, we're a franchise now, people are going to line up and want to do it. You're going to really want to be able to articulate and tell the why somebody should invest in your franchise. And it needs to be better than any other options that are out there, whether it's in your industry or just franchising in general, because it's an investment. And so people are going to look at it as do they want to do this? Why do they want to do this? And what kind of results they're going to get. Part of those results are going to be financial reward, but also it's just personal reward. So having that ironed out is really important in coming out of the gates when you're franchising. But again, to your question, was one thing they should know is that it's going to be a little bit harder and more expensive than you anticipate, and especially the early stages. And don't rely too much on getting cash from franchise fees. You want to build this long term, and you want to look at the royalty stream as the ultimate goal of success. And so if you build it that way, and not reliant on only franchise fees as revenue, that'll prevent you from bringing people who are not right into the system and just selling franchises versus bringing in the people who are actually going to grow the business and be successful in it. And I can tell you that if you're getting ready to franchise your business, they say the first 10 franchisees are absolutely critical, and there could be nothing more than the truth in that. If the first 2 or 3 franchisees come out of the gate not good, it's going to be very hard to grow. So you got to make sure those first few are not only good for your system, that they understand the expectation, that you support them very strongly, that they come out of the gate, because that's going to be key for long-term success, and also getting the brand set up for success for growth. So what a franchise candidate should expect or look for when joining a franchise brand? Well, the first thing that I always give people advice to is try to align what you're good at with what makes a successful franchisee in that system successful. So if it's a particular background, if it's a certain type of understanding of an industry, for instance, at TruBlue, it's sales and marketing, and for us, it's a lot of networking, and you got to like people. So if you're somebody who doesn't like people or working with people or directly soliciting business with people, this may not be the right opportunity for you. So when you're looking at a franchise opportunity, look at what will you be successful in based on your skill sets, and don't fall in love with the product that the franchise brand has. Fall in love with owning your own business and executing the model and utilizing that. At the end of the day, some brands are going to have, think it's going to need cool industry, and some may not be. But at the end of the day, you're running a business. You got to love running a business, not the product. So if you love a pizza because you love the taste of the pizza, you don't only eat that pizza so much. So you got to love being in the pizza business. That's how you become successful. So don't get wrapped up into the product as much. You want to understand the day-to-day, how to be successful, and utilize your skill sets that will make you successful in those brands. I think is the most important thing. It's what you're doing day to day. It's at the end of the day, a lot of the products are just widgets and part numbers and SKU numbers. But if you can build teams and that's what you're looking for, is how you can be successful in a system. I would say this is the advice I'd give myself, is have confidence in your brand and your system. I think early franchisors, because they're not experienced in franchising, begin to second guess and how to deal with franchisees, because at the end of the day, the system works. If the franchisee does not execute the model properly, and you're directing them and supporting them, it's on them. And so don't deviate, don't feel as if the system doesn't work because one franchisee is not, or two are not being successful. So if the system works, have confidence in that system, be prescriptive, not suggestive. And so suggestive is when you just give people ideas. Well, try this, try that. And you're not gonna build confidence in the franchisees if you're giving them suggestions. You need to be very prescriptive, which is, this is what you need to do. Here's the steps that you need to do it. If this isn't working, and then if it works, then you're directing them that way, and it's not working for them, you got to dive in and understand that it's their execution that's not working. The system does. So here are the steps that you need to do, and measure it and hold those franchisees accountable. It's sometimes kind of hard, especially when you're an emerging brand, to do that, but that is the key to success. Once I kind of discovered that and realized that, that's when we really, any brand I've been with has really taken off because of that understanding, that giving them directions on what to do. If you don't give them direction, then the franchisees will fill that void with their own direction, and then that's when it becomes if you're giving just suggestions, then they feel like they're not getting told or supported on what to do, and that they're still making decisions on basic aspects of the business. And that's what you definitely don't want them to be in that position. So